FreedomSlips.com, Wednesday nights, 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to listen to The Bo and Rocco Show.
You don't need to expect us.
We're already here.
Revolution Radio.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Every Tuesday evening on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we present our goddess spiritual warrior, Cathy Bilsky.
I command. I call to the architect of the universe's divine creators and ask for permission to quantum leap the world in all life forms on all planes and dimensions, seen and unseen, connected with planet Earth, to let us go beyond our known potential into the greatest unknown golden age the universes and worlds and all planets have ever experienced.
Cathy teaches the spiritual truth so that you may create a better life and be able to make positive changes for yourself and for the planet. She helps us remember that we are not powerless, but very creative spiritual beings having an Earth experience. Time to quantum leap into the age of divine enlightenment and let Cathy provide you with the tools of knowledge you need to awaken spiritually. That's the Quantum Leap Show. Let Light Unite every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio, Studio B.
Because you are human existence.
I believe that we are creatures not of bodies. I think we are expressions of life, we are expressions of spirit, and that we are not chained by gravities, by walls, by limits.
Okay, Revolution Radio, here we go. It is Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is time for the Quantum Leap Show. Let Light Unite with our goddess spiritual warrior, Cathy Bilsky.
At freedomslips.com. This is October 25th, 2016, and my time it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and your time, gosh, I guess it depends where you are. Tonight is our Native American night with Richie Plass, if we can work it out, and we call his show Talking Feathers with Richie, and it's history and wisdom from the Native American perspective. And Richie is from the Menominee Nation over in Wisconsin area, United States, and looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. We're going to talk a little bit, of course, what's going on at the Dakota Pipeline, but not only there, but my God, there's so many pipelines that are really screwing up the planet. We're also going to touch base on, of course, Flint and what's going on with the Flint water crisis, and maybe little bit about the Philippines. You know, there is life beyond Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and the presidency. And while that crazy stuff is going on, I mean, it's the biggest circus I have ever seen. There are other things that are actually going out around the planet, and we're going to talk about those. While we're waiting for Richie, I want you to go get your pen and paper, because I'm going to give you some numbers that I really want you to maybe make some phone calls. And it's like I say, be a bitch for the earth. Well, let's start with Oasis Petroleum. And their number is 281-404-9500. Now, why am I bringing up Oasis Petroleum? Because these are one of the guys, major guys, that's responsible for the Dakota pipelines and also what's going around in Pennsylvania. There's been a huge oil spill there, gas spill, whatever, and these guys are connected. And then we've got the Army Corps of Engineers, great bunch of guys. And their number is 202-761-5900. We have North Dakota Governor Jack Dapyl, God, I can't even pronounce his name, who has money invested in the North Dakota pipeline, by the way. Just saying. His number is 701-328-2200. And then we got the Morton County Sheriff. And, you know, these are the guys that are giving all the water protectors harassment. Their number is 701-667-3330. And then we're just going to get right on down to the White House, shall we? Because I know they really want to hear from you. Now, they got a few numbers. Okay, here we go. 202-456-1111. And they say they have a comment number, but I'm sure if you call 202-456-1111, and actually, you would think that number would be on speed dial by now, okay? But they have a comment line. At least that's what they call it. And it's 202-456-6213. And then they got the switchboard, which I'm sure you can talk to your congressmen and senators and really give them your mind on how you feel, how everything's going on. And their number is 202-456-1414. And that's the switchboard. I'm not going to leave Canada out because we're going to talk about one of the Native Americans in Canada who's been jailed for 4 years without a trial. So if you want to give Prime Minister Trudeau a shout out and tell him what you think and that, you know, y'all are watching, it's PM, and just those initials, PM, at pm.gc.ca. How simple, right? It's not like the United States where it's got, 50 letters that you got to remember. Canada makes it simple. So give them a shout out. Also, when you hear the story of what's going on, okay. So while we are waiting for Richie to call, let's do a little bit of energy work for the protectors of the land and, break down all the machines used to hurt the land and, see what we can do to get the law enforcement to stand down. So if you are, sit down, put your feet flat on the floor, hands in your lap like you're going to receive. Feel yourself reconnect to the Creator and have all that high energy just come pouring down through that cord into the top of your head, filling up your body, flowing down your arms and out your hands. And we're going to create this huge bubble of light. And under it, we're going to put this huge crystal, 5 tons, because it's a big bubble of light, okay? And we're going to put this prayer in it, and you're going to just send energy to really amplify it. So let's send energy to all the protectors of the land and water. May they be sent all the resources to win. See their activism gaining worldwide momentum with people from all walks of life and cultures joining in. See all the government corporations backing down and the activists winning. We remove all negative overlays over all law enforcement, asking that they are now reconnected to the Creator, becoming an awakened spiritual being. And they now see all the protectors as family and friends, choosing to do no harm and stand down, or go stand with the protectors of the land and protect them from law enforcement. We call to Michael the Archangel to cut ties to all the machines, the bulldozers, the tractors, the diggers, the cars, the trucks, the planes, the drones that are being used on the pipeline for those who want to use them to hurt the earth and all life forms. As ties are cut, we send the violet flame to clean up the elementals' energy, then reconnect them to the Creator. We now command them to be neutral and keep breaking down. We send energy to the weakest parts of all the machines and see them break now. Now, let's imagine these huge magnets on all their computers and see them breaking down. Now, we also call and invite all the elementals, because they're going to be hurt just as well. All the birds, the ants, the spiders, the snakes, the mold, the fleas, the spiders, to infest all their equipment so it breaks down and becomes non-functional. But do it in a way where no one will be hurt or harmed. And again, put all the protectors in this bubble, and we're going to send them energy and everything they need, all the divine inspiration on how to be brilliant, on how to win. Let them be sent all the money that they need for supply or whatever their needs are, and the supplies for winter, and people that will go stand with them, and people that's willing to put their lives on the line to stop the pipelines. To fill them up, fill everything up with light and love, see everything being re-energized. And let's take a deep breath and release it to manifest. You know, we're not helpless in all this. You guys have this incredible creative imagination then when used. You know, it's creation. And if people can use that energy and the power of the spoken word to be misused, by golly, we can use it for good, can't we? And I want to remind everybody, we're doing another quantum leap on Halloween. Yes, I said on Halloween. Why? Because we're going to negate, I see them, we're going to negate that energy of Halloween, and we need another quantum jump. So all we're doing is asking people on that day to chant, may divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. Just chant that all that day. And, you know, we can go for a big leap. All right. Your energy and your intent is important. Hey, Richie. Aloha.
Aloha.
How you doing in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I'm here in Wisconsin among the living.
I'm glad. It's be really strange. It's like, okay, this is Richie from Spirit World. This is a first. I bet you I'd gain a lot of people, because we'd be doing seances with Richie.
It'd be kind of scary.
Yeah, but fun, huh? They're like, Richie, go over there. What's going on, dude? Give it to us from the other side, you know?
Well, hey, I think the first thing I'd do if that ever happened is I'd track down Harry Houdini to make sure we were both in the same spot.
Oh my God, that would be so fun. You know, the more the merrier, right? People that work with magic rock.
They do. I mean, it's just, you know, actually one of the first, probably the first autobiography I read when I was a kid was of Houdini. And, yeah, I was just amazed. And then, you know, then the older you get and stuff, then you find out just how much talent he had and, you know, his physicalness and everything else. And, yeah, it just amazed me. So,
Well, how did that affect your life?
All showbiz, you know. Again,
yeah, but how did Harry Houdini affect your life?
Well, I think it kind of got me into, in a strange way, got me into entertainment. I mean, for sure I'm not a magician, but maybe because I've been playing music since I was a kid, and I still do it. But now I do other things, you know, with public speaking, writing. You know, been in a couple movies, been in some plays. Yeah, all that stuff. So it's like, yeah, I think that's probably what did it. And because his craft, you know, he put so much time and effort and dedication into his craft, and that's what I find more interesting today when I look at our young people. A few years ago, you know, a lot of schools have these science fairs, you know, where it's like a competition of high school students, but it has to do with science. Well, a few years back, the national winners were these group of Lakota girls from South Dakota who figured out a way to use bales of hay to help with insulation, winterizing, and helping environmentally with the houses out on the plains in South Dakota. And that blew me away. It's like, there you go. You're using your mind. You're using the materials that are in front of you. You're looking at the past, you're looking at today, and you're looking to the future. And to me, that's what the arts are all about. Because how come one person can look at a piece of wood or a piece of stone and then you know, sculpt something out of it? Somebody else can look at a piece of paper with a pencil and write a poem, and somebody else can sit at a piano and you know, write music. But then somebody else can walk onto a bare stage and entertain hundreds of people for 90 minutes to 2 hours with nothing else on the stage but themselves. It's just, to me, that's what I really like about the arts. And so, yeah, I think, you know, to a small degree, a lot of it started for me way back reading about Houdini, because, you know, you got to remember, you know, this was the 1920s. So the way the media was back then, the way it is today. And so it's like, how did he gather all them people, and what he did? And it was, and it's like, wow. So yeah, that's how I think.
Well, what did you want to talk about? We were going to talk about the arts, weren't we?
Yeah, because, you know, again, like I was saying before, I think I've said for a long time that music has opened up so many doors for me since I was a kid, and I think it's because of a song to me, a song has no boundaries. So, in other words, we as people sometimes have boundaries, and I'm talking about anything from a fence and a wall to like ownership. Like I go back in history, and when the Europeans started building fences out on the East Coast, and our ancestors couldn't understand that word fence, and they couldn't understand how one person can own this piece of dirt, but then just 6 inches away, somebody else owned that piece of dirt. So we've had to deal with boundaries, them kind of boundaries, forever. But on the other side, with music, you stop and think of the different styles of music, and then along with music comes the dance. And I always challenge people, to listen to certain songs. I always think if your toe don't start tapping or your fingers don't start hitting on a table or something, it's like, wow, are you that deaf or no emotion? But all of that comes from us. And so the same thing goes true with, I'm gonna try to break down different kind of artists, because when I was growing up, an artist was just that, was someone who could draw. But when you get older and you find out that an artist, like I said before, can be a musician, can be a writer, can be an actor. Some of the best artists in the world really are teachers, in the classroom, because there's an art to that. And I think possibly that's where the word liberal arts comes from. But then again, you look at the history, and I remember the first time I seen ledger art by our ancestors. And, when they would, especially when they were in prison and or locked up someplace, and the only paper available to them was those ledgers, from the bookkeepers, everybody else. But stop again and think, though, how I always think back to one of my friends who was a teacher up on the reservation, and known him for years. He's not native, but he taught on our reservation for 27 years. And I remember one time we were up at the school that he taught at, and in the hallway were all of these pages from a coloring book, and by the students. And when I got by his classroom, and like that whole wall was full. All the other ones only had like about 5, 6, maybe 7 pieces. And so I asked him, I says, how come all these other places have like only 6, 7, maybe 5 pieces, and you've got like, looks like your whole class? And he started to laugh. He said, yeah, they had because it's Easter, he said, they had a contest. And we were told to put our winners out in the hallway. But I put everybody's up there, he said, because all of my children are winners. He said, and look at this, even this one, he said, that color's outside the line, or maybe uses a color that you would expect at a certain spot, or they put colors together. He said, see, that tells me, he said, that they're thinking. I'm not going to challenge them as to, hey, you didn't win because you didn't stay in the lines. I'm going to challenge them and say, hey, you do and tell me what you think. And I find that amazing. I
think that's beautiful.
And when I was out, probably about 10 years ago, maybe 8, 10 years ago, I was out in Pennsylvania for a whole week, I didn't have the exhibit with me, but I had a whole bunch of items that I went that whole week. I went to all these schools from kindergarten to high school in actually it was in State College. That's where Penn State is. And anyway, one of the schools I was taken to was it was a rural school, and it was kindergarten through 6th grade. And so I was talking to this teacher, and because I had part of my presentation was about our culture, the Native culture, maybe how we look at things, and I had some artwork and I had some attire, and talking about design and all these other things. This teacher had told me she had bought some throwaway cameras for her class, and if I remember right, they were either 4th or 5th graders. And she said for 2 weeks she assigned her class to take pictures, and then when the camera was full, they'd get them developed, and then each student had to pick, I can't remember, 4 or 5 photographs, and then put it on this display board, and then talk about that particular picture. Well, she said this one little girl, she said, I was just amazed, she said, because one of the pictures her student had chosen, she said, all it really looked like, she said, really was a field, with like a power line going along the woods. And she said, so I asked, she asked that student, she asked that young girl, she said, what is this? And that girl looked at her and she said, that's Tuesday. She said, excuse me? She said, yeah, that's what Tuesday looked like. Isn't that amazing? It's like, wow. So I think that no matter what culture you are, again, it's what's around you that inspires you. Your history inspires you, and even the future inspires you. So whatever form of art you pick, I always go back to my friend. Are you going to stay? Are you going to stay inside the lines, or are you going to make your own statement? And I that's why, like, to me, what is so typical for me is that going on right now is with Bob Dylan winning the Nobel Prize, but the people in the Nobel Prize group are upset because he hasn't called them back yet. But, again, it comes to personality. I mean, for years, Dylan has never been a, oh gosh, by golly kind of guy, But look at his volume of work and look at what he's done, not only in music, but in writing and the message and, his finger on the pulse, as they say, and how he's interpreted that. So they awarded him this great, great gift, but now he's catching the dickens because he ain't fallen into their, I don't want to say graciousness, but like he hasn't fallen into how they want him to react. And so I think with anything, it's like, wow, where you're from, how do you express yourself? What does that mean? And that's what I think is so powerful about the arts. Because you look at where you are, and again, I was lucky enough a few years ago to be down there with Lily. We went and visited her son and his family, and then
So we're for those people who don't know where I am, I'm in Hawaii.
Right, and her son is in the Navy, and he's we were on Oahu, and we were there for 2 weeks, and we had rented a car, so we drove around and did things, and I'm going to guess I took over 300 pictures, because again, I'll probably never get to Hawaii again. But then, being a writer, and I have them all yet, and some of them I've shared with people, I would sit down then at night, and then I'd write a poem about a picture I just took, or a group of pictures. But my writing was about me from the res at that location. And because that's what I do, and I use some of the words from our culture, might not have been Menominee words, but they're words that probably don't get used a lot in Hawaii. Now, that's the kind of thing. Again, it's the same thing as actors. Like some actors, like that are in the movies. There's some actors that say right out, "Hey, I've never seen any movie I've been in," because it's a job. And that's just like, right now with the World Series, and the articles the last few days, they've been talking about the movie Major League and trying to get some of the actors in on, at being at the World Series and things. But there's a perfect example. You talk about the arts. Excuse me. Bob Uecker, who of course was a ball player with the Milwaukee Braves, and then he's the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers. But in Major League, he played the announcer for the Cleveland, the Cleveland Indians. But he's never seen the movie Major League, and it's like 20, 25 years old already. And that's just like, I just watched a short clip a few nights ago. It was George Harrison, Ringo Starr, and Paul McCartney. I think it was done in '94, I think it said. They were in a sound, I think they were at Abbey Road, where the Beatles used to record, and there were George Martin, their producer, and they were replaying, some of the music that the Beatles had done and some of the songs. But again, these were done in the 60s, and technology back then wasn't available like it is now, and they're talking about how they did certain things. So again, almost every form of art, be it visual, be it vocal, be it ornate. What's that one saying? Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. But ain't that funny again? How that's what I say about artists is, I've tried at different art museums and stuff and looked at these, like this big 5-foot by 10-foot white piece of paper with a red dot in the middle, and I'm trying to figure out how and why that's art, and I'm trying to figure out what it's trying to say to me. I can't get there. But I see a piece of artwork from.
I'm kind of like that with the Bible.
Well, there's another example. I think is that in, I'm going to call it the dominant society. And again, I'll probably anger some people by saying this, but it amazes me that there's more than one Bible. And then if you don't follow that particular Bible, that you're part of that faith, even the people that you remember that faith is, if you don't know it cover to cover, you know, it's like blasphemy, and it's like terrible. You know,
There's so many restrictions.
Right, but then you look at our culture, and I've had the opportunity to travel a lot of places and meet a whole lot of other nations and leaders and spiritual people, and it's like it's open arms, it's welcoming, and it's an honor to be there. But I always say too, to me, the honor is not in the action, the honor is in being asked. So when you get asked to partake in these things, to me, it's a huge honor. So kind of like, well, what you do with it, I think shows your respect back. But then that word they put in front of art sometimes, liberal, took me a long time to find out what liberal meant.
What does it mean?
I don't know. I always thought, I said, hey, there's only two kinds of people, Democrats and Republicans, but now there's liberal people. And I'm like, what the hell are liberal people? You know, where do they live?
In liberal land, I guess. You know, there's not a color for it. They do a blue and a red, but there's no liberal. Or, you know, they should have a green for the Green Party too, right? Honest to God, they are so color racist, aren't they?
What? Well, yeah.
You know, they're only doing blue and red, and there's no other colors up there. I mean, really. And talk about just keeping people, oh my God, I don't want to get into the election, but just blocking them out of the election and totally, since we got into the colors and we're getting into the green. It's like nobody else exists but Hillary and Trump. And that is so sad because there are other people out there. And I think it's a disservice to our, what they call democracy. And, you know, Richie, what the hell does democracy mean? Because if democracy means what we're doing right now, I think it sucks a big one.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's certainly amazing, you know. Yeah,
but let's get back to art, because we're really, we could talk about politics, and I mean, I don't want to go down that road, because there is a life beyond that. When Native Americans get into their art and do artwork, do they call to their ancestors for inspiration?
I would say yes. That's a big part of it, because our ancestors have left so much for us. They laid a lot, to me, they laid a lot of the groundwork. And so, but I think it's part of, it's not only that, but it's the history, and it's also the I want to say the pattern. And by that, I mean almost mean literally, because a woodland design and the woodland pattern will be different than the geometric patterns that sometimes come from the west and the southwest. And so, we tap into our history, we tap into our past, and but then too, it's even the styles themselves.
Would you say in colors too? Like, does the Menominee have a certain style and certain colors?
Yeah, I think almost every nation, every tribe have colors. Like, I know, like the Oneida, their dominant color is purple. But there are other tribes across the country that purple is like the dark side. I don't want to say the devil, but I want to say the dark side.
Really?
So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of looking at like a peacock feather. Some people think, I think it's the eye of God. The eye of the peacock, and then other people think it's evil.
Let
Well, they
heard
came
that.
out with, oh God, they came out, let's see, my son's 24. 24 years ago, they came out with Hercules series with Kevin Sorbo, and it was really great. But in there was Hera, and who was supposed to be the evil queen. And she was always represented by a peacock feather. And I mean, my God, it gave peacock feathers such a bad name. So I would make dream catchers, and this was in California. And some people would come in and you knew they were Christian because they would refuse to buy a dream catcher that had a peacock feather in it.
Wow. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I know. Thank God we've moved through that one.
Huh. Well, see that, and again, you talk about art. You bring up something that I'm always in the back of my mind to see other cultures take the dream catcher and then make them and stuff, and then sell them. And I always struggle with that because in our culture, dream catcher is sacred and it's there for a purpose. It ain't just to hang on your mirror of your car or, put your house. It has a certain purpose, and it should be made a certain way with certain items and then used in a certain way. So it's like I'm always challenged with that because they're all over the place, and I even run into Native people and some of them, and I accept this because some of them say, well, you got to understand, one of the only ways we can make extra money is to make these things and sell them to white people because they want to buy something and they're easy to make. So, hey, I can make this one with a metal ring and whatever else and make money, but, I also know how to make traditional ones, but I won't sell those. So there you go again. It's like, who makes that decision? And is it right or is it wrong? And I'm not even going to begin to say that, hey, I'm not the expert. I'm just a person with an opinion. But if someone else comes up to me and says, this is why I do it, and I go, gotcha. Because, again, if art is going to, I think all art has a purpose and has a message. But then again, stop and think of us as human beings. You can take 3 or 4 people showing the same piece of art, be whatever form it is. You may come across with 3 or 4 or more points of view about that piece of art. And I think, again, you look at music. Look at music itself. And I know one of the rips on Eric Clapton's band, he's taken some of his songs but then he'll take that same song and change the rhythm pattern or the beat, and he'll make another hit off of it. Like the one that I always like is After Midnight. When he did the original, but then years later he changed the rhythm pattern and it became like a blues song. Well, and there were some music critics ripped him about it, and it's like, yeah, but
You just can't please everybody, You can't.
Exactly. So, like, why do some people order hash browns for their breakfast and other people order fried potatoes? Or, like Lily just said, when you're in Hawaii, unless you say something, that's the other thing I learned about down there. When you order breakfast we were only on Oahu, if you didn't say nothing, your eggs and everything came with rice. They didn't even come with potatoes. You had to order the potatoes.
Oh, this is not a potato culture. It's a rice culture.
But there you go again. Somebody might say, well, what does food have to do with art? It has to do with everything. Because look at one of the biggest art pieces in the world, Mr. Potato Head. Because you can change his look and his emotions, right?
Okay.
Think about it, right?
I'm going
Right?
to have to think about that one, okay?
Yeah. Well, hey, you got to remember, I'm a child of the 60s, and yes, I did inhale, so you think of different things sometimes.
Hey,
You know?
I'm a child of the 60s and I still inhale, okay? Did I say that? Oh my God. Of course, you don't know what we're talking about, people. It's like I say I'm a stoner. I own a rock shop, all right? God, what were you all thinking? For those censors out there, eh.
Yep. So, yeah. So, again, I think that's...
And which gets to be, I really believe that people that do smoke pot and maybe do a little ayahuasca and stuff like that, they're very creative because I think it opens up a lot of portals and helps you connect to the creator. And a lot of people are divinely inspired.
Cool. I didn't do it. I didn't do it a lot, but what really made me hit the brakes was a couple of the guys that I would partake of. When I seen them physically and mentally change, and part of that change had to happen with stuff that was, what I'm going to say, stronger. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I just stopped. But again, I think it's comes down to choices. I mean, so that's a whole different scene. But then, if we go back to the art and you talk about different scenes, like, why do some artists, painters, I'm talking about, why do some use oil paint and others use watercolor? And for the longest time, I couldn't understand that. But then when you actually look at a watercolor piece and you at a piece done in oil, you can see the difference, for one thing. But I don't, there's, again, I'm not a practitioner of all that stuff, so I can't get into the full details about the real differences. But to me, again, it comes back to taste, and it comes back to style, it comes back to history, it comes back to technique. Like me, I'm writing a book right now. I'm writing a book on the exhibit, and I'm writing it, in a notebook. And I have a friend who's taking it and then typing it and helping me edit it. Whereas some people don't want to write it all, so they just talk into a tape recorder. Or with technology nowadays, people put it on their computer or their iPhone. Again, it's just, I think, comes down to your comfort zone, or however you want to say it. So, what are you going to do? Or you're going to do, I think, what's comfortable and safe. But I also think you go with what you're, again, more comfortable with. I'm more comfortable writing, with a pen or a pencil than I am sitting at a computer. That's just, again, there's another word, and that's style. It's a style.
I think some of it is, though, gifts that we come in with, and that we've also, some of that art we've done in other lifetimes, and we've gotten really, really good. And as a blessing or something we've earned, we've been able to carry it into this lifetime.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. I'm a big practitioner and a big supporter of penmanship. I think great penmanship sends a great message, and I was just raised that way, and my mom had great penmanship, and my dad had pretty nice stuff too. And so, again, I have a associate degree in, back then it was called residential design. I designed houses. I don't want to say full architecture because I never designed a skyscraper, but nowadays a lot of that stuff is done on the computer. You just type it in and it comes in. So because I think your signature and the way that you write talks and tells a lot about who you are as a person. That's how I look at it. So it's like, yeah, it all comes. I think that's all part of it. That's what I should say. I think that's just a big, I think it's just all a big part of it.
So what's your book about? About your exhibit. So tell people what your exhibit is.
It's a traveling exhibit on Native American imagery. I do so much work in the mascot logo issue, and so in the exhibit, I do have a lot of the sports teams and school stuff, T-shirts and posters, but I also have culturally relative things. I got Lily's dress, I got a drum, I got a beaver pelt hat from 1897. So the exhibit, this is our 13th year, and when I started the exhibit way back then, I started with 3 little boxes of stuff just to try and give a visual presentation of what some people might think is really cool, and it's happening right now on TV as I'm watching the World Series because it's in Cleveland, and there's a sign in the crowd. It's got a great big teepee with Chief Wahoo on it, and it says "Not in our teepee," which is like to me stupid. Then they just showed the guy in the crowd, and he's in Cleveland, and he's got this big drum, and he keeps pounding the hell out of it. But he's not an Indian, he's just some white dude. So the exhibit now has about 450 pieces in it. I've got items from California to Long Island, and I call it visual education. And then I tell people, all right, you take away from it what you want, because there's a lot of us Native Americans who don't agree with these names and these symbols and these mascots and these logos. And the mainstay of the exhibit, really the main message is to show you collectively all of these things that are real. But then, just like an article I read yesterday, why isn't there any sports team in America called the White Boys? Why isn't there any sports team in America called, the Nappy Hairs or the Blackskins? Ooh, you can't do that. But, we're still here, so I'm writing a book on the exhibit because I've actually let people know I'm selling the exhibit because you know what? God, it takes like 6 hours to assemble it now. Actually, I'll be doing that tomorrow. Right here in Green Bay, I got to go put it up at a high school here for the next few days, and then next week I'm at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay campus, and then on November, I'll set it up on the 9th, and then the 10th, 11th, and 12th, I'll have it in Indianapolis, Indiana. So I'm taking it all around the country. I've been in about 13 different states. But the calendar is telling me I got to slow down. My weak knees and elbows and my little peanut brain is telling me I got to slow down, and I'm just going to, yeah. So.
Yeah, doesn't it feel like the older we get, the more God and Spirit is giving us to do? I mean, do you feel like that? I feel like that.
I always tell people that I probably have done more. I'm thinking I've probably done more since I was 40 than before I turned 40. That's what I'm thinking. It's like, wow, yeah, kind of nuts.
You're saying you're slowing down? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, I try to think that, but sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. So, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, now as long as we're breathing, why not? For goodness sake, it's what we're here for, right?
Yep. That and, yeah, just to be the pain in somebody's derriere
Oh, what a mission, right?
Exactly.
Well, we
So,
should be going on break pretty soon, and I don't know if you wanted to come back or not the second hour and talk a little bit about how American Indians are killed by cops, and it's the highest rate in the nation, and they're pretty invisible in media. And then there's a young man up in Canada who's been terribly mistreated. We're going to talk about that. So if you want to join in, if you just kind of hang out, and if not, we'll catch you next month.
you betcha for sure. You betcha for sure. I've got to catch up on some stuff here, but nice talking to you. Thank you again.
All right, aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha, everybody. Oh, that was perfect timing. This is Cathy Bilsky, the Quantum Leap Let Light Unite show on Revolution Radio. This is the second hour, October 25th, 2016. I just wanted to let everyone know, Revolution Radio, of course, we are all volunteers. Nobody gets paid for doing this. And we really appreciate all the donations. So go to Revolution Radio, their website, check out the donation button and press it. And remember, if you're kind of stuck in a money situation, it's awesome to give because you're creating space. And as you give, that creates space for the Creator to give back. How simple, right? So that's Revolution Radio. And really, we appreciate everything. All donations are welcome. Now, if you want to find more about me, you can look at my website at www.angelliteom.com. That's ANGELITEOM.com. And that's where I've got my really cool angel light tools that glow in the dark. And they're like forever tools. I have people that have bought my tools 25 years ago and they're still using them. You don't need energy. It's made out of rock stones, crystals, minerals, angel light, love, a little bit of Sai Baba's vibhuti, and glow in the dark, plankton. Anybody can be a healer. So check my website out. And I also have a couple books there, one you can download for free. And they're just books on spiritual basics. I just kind of look at it. It's helping you remember everything that you forgotten. I also have my curse removal up on the website that you can actually download for free. Oh my God. And I call it the maintenance program. And it's helping you release everything that you've taken on that's not yours. And then you can also go to YouTube, and I've got the curse removal on up there. And I've actually got two channels. I've got Cathy Bilsky, the Quantum Leap, and then there's Cathy Bilsky on Revolution Radio. And I could really use people to, log on to that one, Revolution Radio. Subscribe, that's the word. Subscribe. Thank you, Spirit. And that's where all the new shows are going up. But I have a lot of other shows and things on the Cathy Bilsky one. You can also catch me on LinkedIn and Google Plus, and of course, Facebook. Who is not on Facebook nowadays? You can look up just Cathy Bilsky or Catherine Bilsky. And I have my rock shop on there too, Cathy's Angelite Crystals, Miracles, and Joy, which, like I said, is in Honoka'a, Hawaii, and that's on the Big Island. And it's really cool to come to this time of year because we've got the active volcano. That's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And you can also swim with the dolphins and the manta rays. Oh, my God, that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And then you can come to my store and hug the biggest crystal in Hawaii, which is my 1,000-pound Celestial Earthkeeper crystal. And I have another one that's 650 pounds. And if you come in, I do free pain and stress release, which I do some of that online. I also do the curse removal for those people that ask. And then for those that want deeper work, I do soul retrievals. And that takes about an hour to do. And it's taking back all your energy that you've given away or people have taken from you, with or without your permission, from all your lifetimes, past, present, future, planetary. I do a major curse removal, and that takes an hour. I do have that on YouTube, and I actually have a soul retrieval back to back if you really want some profound energy work, and it really clears your path. And I've had a lot of people write and tell me thank you, that it's really changed their lives. So if I can make you more successful, then light's going to win, and we're going to move forward. Yoo-hoo! We're also doing the Quantum Leap on October 31, which is Halloween, and to negate that dark energy of Halloween, but also to take the world, we do need it. Things are getting crazy, and I figure, it really wouldn't hurt to focus a little light energy before the elections. And again, you can go to our website at Enlightenment Movement 2016 at shutterfly.com. And I put all the power prayers that we do daily there. And you can see when there's really times that we need to do that extra energy work, and where we need to give those days extra energy to counter what darkness and evil's doing. If you don't think they're not doing it to us, ooh, boy, are you in denial. So all I'm going to ask is, on that day, October 31st, Halloween, just chant, "May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now." Is this too easy or what? May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. Come on, chant with me. May divine enlightenment descend down around everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. One more time. May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. Yee-haw. So you can also become my friend on Facebook, and then we have a World Enlightenment 2016 event on Facebook. You can also join. The more the merrier. We can make it a little leap or a big leap. And I love quantum leaps. The bigger the better. And if you're really tired of all this crap that's going on the planet, God, people ask me, how come I don't get overwhelmed? Well, I do. And then I refocus on what's important. First, my breath, because my breath is connected to the divine and to the Creator. And without that breath, without that connection, I'm not going to be here, and neither will you. And then I focus on enlightenment, because I know I can change things through that. All right. Then I also put power prayers up on my Facebook page and LinkedIn and the Enlightenment page for everybody to tune into, so we can amplify that work daily, because things just pop up. It's hard to focus on one thing, isn't it? Yeah. So, we focus on that one thing, and then on that other thing, and something else. This is like spiritual overtime. But it's easy. All you got to do is check out my website. Check out my Facebook page at Cathy Bilsky, and, check out what we're doing daily. I called it Enlightenment Group Focus for the day. Pretty catchy, huh? All right. Now, the Red Warrior Camp is also still asking and requesting help, and they need bodies up there in the Dakotas to stand and fight and fight through love and peaceful action like Gandhi did. And they're doing it. And it kind of gets me when everybody's going, God, what's Obama going to do? How's he going to react? Well, I got news for you guys. His silence says it all. He's reacting. He's keeping his mouth shut. Matter of fact, he's keeping his mouth shut so tight, he's not saying a word about all the tanks and the National Guard that's showing up around the protectors in the North Dakota pipeline and all the police. He ain't saying a word. That says it. What can I say? So, it's more important than ever that we come together and really work with the protectors of the lands all around. And that's, we even have to do that here in Hawaii, and keeping telescopes up from off our mountain in Mauna Kea. They want to put up an 18-story telescope. Now, this is Hawaii. The earth moves all the time, okay? We got volcanoes here. Hello. Nobody gets to put an 18-story anything up on the Big Island. They don't let you. But on top of the highest mountain here in Hawaii, they want to put a big telescope, 18 stories. And they've already got like 9 or 10 of these telescopes up here already on that mountain. All right. Now, I always wondered, what in the hell do they want with something so 18 stories high? And it's going to take 10,000 gallons of water a day to cool those computers. Now, I don't know about you guys. You may not think 10,000 gallons is nothing, but a day, and that gets into our water supply. Not to mention all the pollution that comes from the glass, which is made out of lead, and that leaks into the ground, and that's been proven from all the other observatories up there. So, the Hawaiians, and they are like all indigenous people now. They are welcoming everybody, every race, every color. It doesn't matter. If you're willing to stand up for the land, it's like, come on in and do it, but you got to do it peacefully. That's the key. Now, we have done it in Hawaii, and they've kept that TMT project from going on for 2 years. But you think those guys, the big conglomerate, would give up? Oh, God, no, of course not. They're going back to the courts to get permits to make it legal so that it can be put up. I mean, there's a lot of graft going on. There's a lot of under the money table money being handed out to people, because that's the only way that project's going to get built. Because not only is it not environmentally safe and sound, but just on them wanting 10,000 gallons of water a day is not acceptable to everybody here on the island. And again, this is a water issue. It's a mountain issue. It is a water issue also. And I have seen lately, and we're going to talk about it tonight, a little bit later on in the program, how it's happening all over, that these pipelines are bursting and going into the water. And when you take them one-on-one, these accidents, you don't think much of it other than, oh my God. But when they're happening all over the place and all the water is being contaminated, you just want to say, what the F? This is more than what we see. This is really evil. And you got to look at the totality. But let's get back to the Red Warrior camp before I get ahead of myself. All right. They will take anything they can, especially for winter. And if you want to write them and send them contributions, you can write to the Red Warrior Camp, BIE 00N02, Agency Avenue, Fort Yates, North Dakota, 58538. Now, we're going to jump to Ontario really quick, and I want you to become aware of the sickening mistreatment of a Native American called Adam Capay. Now, learn the name of Adam Capay. He is a living symbol of everything that is wrong with Canada's prison, its justice system, and its treatment of Indigenous people. Mr. Capay, 23, has been held in solitary confinement in the Ontario Provincial Prison for 4 years. He is housed alone in a basement at the end of a long corridor in a cell sheathed in plexiglass. The lights are on 24 hours a day. Mr. Capay has no idea if it's day or night. And when Renu Madhani, Chief Commissioner of the Ontario Human Rights Commission, visited him this month. She said he appeared to have memory and speech problems brought on by his prison conditions. Now, the only thing Ontario prison officials haven't done to this poor man is shackle him upside down on a dungeon wall, but they may as well have. Mr. Capet is arguably being tortured by the state. The sensory deprivation caused by constant light is an acknowledged torture technique, and the United Nations says that holding a person for more than 15 days in solitary is in itself a form of torture. But there's more. Mr. Capet is legally innocent. What? I said he's legally innocent. He was charged with first-degree murder in 2012 after the death of a fellow inmate in a Thunder Bay prison where Mr. Capet was being held on a minor charges. And 4 years later, he has still not been to trial. Mr. Capet has been held without trial for 52 months, and he has been in solitary confinement 100 times longer than the 15-day maximum the UN considers to be the threshold for torture. This young Native Canadian man's human rights have been stolen from him, and he would still be forgotten in a prison basement were it not for a brave prison guard who brought his plight to the attention of Ontario's Chief Human Rights Commissioner. The inhuman treatment of Adam Capet, and that's C-A-P-A-Y, defies categorization. He must be released from solitary and given medical care by the end of this week. His murder charge should be stayed. And those who allowed this to happen must be held to account. And nothing less can compensate for this sickening cruelty. So shall I give you the Prime Minister of Canada's email address again? And that's Prime Minister Trudeau. And it's simply 2 letters, pm@pm.gc.ca. Call them up and really let them know you're watching and this is time for the release of this man. Now, the American Indians killed by cops have the highest rate in the nation in America, and they're invisible to the media. Although, you got to say, it certainly sounds like they're certainly invisible in Canada too. His name is spelled C-A-P-A-Y, and it's Adam, C-A-P-A-Y, Capet. Now, Corey Kanash, a 35-year-old unarmed Paiute, was one of dozens of American Indians who have died at the hands of police, but given little or no coverage by the traditional media. I know it was unprofessional of me, and this is a man who wrote this, but when I wept when I read Stephanie Woodard's investigative piece on the killings of American Indians by cops, published Monday in a Democratic Socialist magazine in these times, it's no stretch to say it broke my heart. The reason for those tears, which continue to spring forth days after my first reading, are many. Even though none were of my tribe, they were still my people. Like me, descendants of the first humans to set foot on this continent 400 generations ago. Like the slayings of so many African Americans killed by police, the deaths of many of them could have easily been avoided by smarter, more compassionate, and less trigger-happy cops. And as it is so often the case in matters relating to the living Indigenous Americans, these dead men and women were invisible. Most didn't show up in the media or the statistics. Woodard's story should have been on the front page of the New York Times. the centerpiece of a report on NBC, the subject of speeches on the Senate floor. The good news is that these killings have now been exposed, and equally important, inspired by Black Lives Matter, some Indian activists, including Chase Iron Eyes, the Lakota lawyer of the Standing Rock Sioux, who's running as a Democrat for North Dakota's single congressional seat, have for the past 2 years organized Native Lives Matter to bring attention to this situation and hold police and prosecutors accountable. The Suquamish tribe descendant, and this is a taste of his report. Jeanette Riley, a 34-year-old mother of 4, lay face down on a Sandpoint, Idaho street. 1 minute earlier, 3 police officers had arrived, summoned by staff at a nearby hospital. Her husband has sought help there because Riley, homeless, pregnant, and with a history of mental illness, was threatening suicide. Riley had a knife in her right hand and was sitting in a couple's park van. Wearing body armor and armed with an assault rifle and Glock pistols, the officers quickly closed in on Riley, one moving down the sidewalk toward the van, the other 2 crossing the roadway. They shouted instructions at her to walk toward them, show them her hands. Cursing them, she refused. Drop the knife, they yelled, advancing, then opened fire. They pumped 2 shots into her chest and another into her back as she fell to the pavement. 15 seconds had elapsed from the time they exited their vehicles. 15 seconds. Were their lives at risk? And if so, why would they advance? Was Riley threatening anybody but herself? Could these officers have possibly made a reasonable assessment of the situation in a quarter of a minute? Given the paltry official statistics on police killings in general, counting how many natives have been shot to death or died in police custody is no easy matter. Police have been supposed since the early 1990s to supply to the U.S. Department of Justice information about all the people of whatever race they shoot, justified or not. But this is voluntary, and only 3% of the nation's 18,000 state and local police agencies have provided this information. The FBI seeks to remedy this situation with a pilot program starting next year. Meanwhile, The Guardian and The Washington Post have been keeping their own tallies. What they found is that hundreds of police shootings go unreported each year, and that the information that is supplied to federal authorities is often riddled with as many errors as people slain are with bullets. Oh, God, should we just say surprise? As for the count of Indians shot by the cops, Woodard reports. Mike Mayo, senior researcher at the Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice, looked at data at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, collected from medical examiners in 47 states between 1999 and 2011. When compared to the percentage of the U.S. population, natives were more likely to be killed by police than any other group, including African Americans. By age, natives 20 to 24, 25 to 34, and 35 to 44 were 3 of the 5 groups most likely to be killed by police. The other 2 groups were African Americans 20 to 24 and 25 to 34. Males analysis of CDC data from 1999 to 2014 shows that Native Americans are 3.1 times more likely to be killed by police than white Americans. In the press, Indian deaths by cops are invisible. Roger Chin, Jean Schrodel and Lily Rowan, Claremont graduate university researchers, reviewed articles published between May 1st, 2014 and October 31st, 2015 in the top 10 U.S. newspapers by circulation. Of the 29 Indians known to have been killed by cops during that period, just 2 received any coverage whatsoever. There was also 0 coverage of native jailhouse deaths, what the CDC euphemizes as death by legal intervention. Wow, death by legal intervention. Okay. Native Americans' experience of violence and discrimination in the United States often parallel those of African Americans. Federal investigations have found that on the borders of reservations, Native Americans are treated as second-class citizens by police and public agencies in ways that echo the experience of Black Americans in towns like Ferguson, Missouri. Incidents aired even in recent hearings sound like tales from the pre-civil rights Deep South. They range from denial of service in public places to police brutality to the failure to investigate murders. In Northern Plains states, USCCR members personally observed staff in restaurants and stores hassling or refusing to serve natives. In South Dakota, the commission heard testimony about a police department that found reasons to fine natives hundreds of dollars, then allowed them to work off debt on a ranch. I think that's called slave labor. USCCR Rocky Mountain Director Malay Kraft described that situation as, wow, just what I said, slave labor. So let's talk about the pipelines, all right? And this is why people protest. Now, the pipeline owned by people behind the Dakota pipeline just spilled 55,000 gallons of gasoline into pristine river. Lycoming County, Pennsylvania, on Friday, a broken pipeline in Pennsylvania dumped 55,000 gallons of gasoline into the Susquehanna River. Charlotte Katzenmeyer, Director of Public Works for Lancaster, said in a statement that it is unclear whether or not the local drinking water supplies have been contaminated. With that amount that spilled, we certainly could see some impact on our intake along Susquehanna River. We'll continue to monitor it, Katzenmeyer said. Jesus, these people are just in denial, aren't they? Randy Glockley, director of the Lancaster Emergency Management Agency, said that certainly it's something to be concerned about. Oh my God, we don't know yet the speed it will travel down the river. Are these people just idiots? It will travel at the speed of the river flowing. Hello. God, I'm sure they're dealing with high velocity water flows because of the flooding. Oh, great, at flooding. My gut tells me it will take a few days to reach us, but I can't say that for sure. This far downstream, it's hard to know, he said. According to Lancaster Online, the pipeline ruptured sometime between 3 a.m. Friday morning. How convenient, early in the morning when nobody's around. Hours after the breach, Sunoco Logistics, the company in charge of the pipeline, estimated that 1,300 barrels of gas amounting to roughly 55,000 gallons spilled into Wallace Run, a tributary to the Susquehanna River. Now, the Department of Environmental Protection Agency, which is a farce, oh my God, voiced concerns about the potential of drinking water contamination. In a statement, the agency said, Sunoco Logistics emergency response crews are in the process of containment and collection efforts following a release of gasoline from an 8-inch pipeline in the vicinity of Wallace Run near the intersection of Wallace Run Road and Butternut Grove Road in Gamble Township, Lycoming County. Wallace Run is a tributary of the Loyola Creek. The area received heavy rainfall overnight, resulting in flash floods, landslides, and, riverbank erosion. Does it just get any better? Crews will use skimmers, to remove gasoline from the top of affected waterways and will erect containment booms downstream. Well, I'm sure they got their work cut out for them. A drop in pressure in the pipeline was detected by the Sunoco Logistic Control Center shortly after 3 a.m. Friday, October 21st. The pipeline was shut down and emergency response personnel were dispatched to the scene. Federal, state, local officials were notified, and a unified command center was established at the nearby Eldred Township Volunteer Fire Company. The agencies on scene include the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, and the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission. Safety environmental crews are meeting with affected residents. Residents who have been impacted by the release can call a Sunoco Logistics representative. Oh my God, I have got another phone number for you to call. Okay, are you ready? And it's an 800 number. Oh, bless their hearts. All right, this is for the idiots that created this mess up in Pennsylvania. It's 1-800-759-5644. Give them a call, okay? Oh my God, the spill comes at a time of great controversy, for pipelines, with many rupturing across the country this year and a massive protest surrounding the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. What makes this spill so highly controversial is that Sunoco Logistics is a subsidiary of Energy Transfer Partners, the company behind the heavily protested Dakota Access Pipeline. According to their website, Sunoco Logistics Partners, LP, is a master limited partnership that owns and operates a logistics business consisting of a geographically diverse portfolio of complementary crude oil, refined products, and natural gas liquids pipeline terminaling and acquisition and marketing assets. Holy crap! Which are used to facilitate the purchase and sale of crude oil, natural gas liquids, and refined products. Sunoco Logistics General Partner is consolidated subsidiary of Energy Transfer Partners. While Energy Transfer Partners continue to tout the safety of their pipelines, liars. If they were Pinocchio, their noses would go around the planet a few times, don't you think? Now, they want us to know that enormous amounts of oil and other toxic materials that spill from supposedly safe pipelines on a daily basis. The fact is, since 2009, when domestic oil production began ramping up, the annual number of significant accidents on oil and petroleum pipeline has shot up almost 60%, roughly matching the rise in U.S. crude oil production. The numbers are staggering. A 2015 analysis by the Center for Effective Government found since 2010, over 3,300 incidents of crude oil and liquefied natural gas leaks or ruptures have occurred on U.S. pipelines. Did you hear me when I said over 3,300? These incidents have killed 80 people, injured 389 more, and cost $2.8 billion in damages, which they probably don't even bother with cleanup. Then there's also released toxic, polluting chemicals in local soils, waterways, and airs, according to Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. These spills and ruptures released over 7 million gallons of crude. Most of the spilled crude oil originates in Texas and, you guessed it, North Dakota, where Dapyl will be carrying 500,000 barrels of a day of crude oil from the Bakken and Three Forks fracking fields. Clearly, the main selling point put out by Energy Transfer's partners and those who stand to reap billions from its construction is a lie. Put in terms of the amount of crude oil spilled, pipelines are more dangerous than rail cars or trucks. But this is not an appeal to continue relying on railways and highways for transporting oil. The shocking data on oil spills, the threat to human health and the environment, and the assaults on the rights of landowners and Native Americans brought on by the Dakota Access Pipeline construction point to one conclusion. Now more than ever, we need to speed our transition away from fossil fuels and fully embrace renewable energy. The technology is there, and the free market is making great strides to make this happen. But the corporatocracy still has an enormous grip in perpetuating the oil era, as we can plainly see in the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline and the increased oil production through fracking. The corrupt partnership of corporate behind most of the government players is keeping us mired in the era of oil, putting human and environmental health at even greater risk with more and more pipeline construction. So please help us combat the disinformation campaign of oil companies and the willful ignorance of mainstream media by talking about what I just shared with you, so the truth can really be known about oil pipelines. So let me give you the number of the White House, unless, put it on speed dial, okay? 202-456-1111. And for the Dakota Pipeline, Oasis Petroleum, 281-404-9500. The Army Corps of Engineers, who want to keep pushing this project forward, 202-761-5900. Governor Jack Dapyl of North Dakota, 701-728-2200. He's got money invested in that pipeline, by the way. That's why he's pushing it forward. Just saying. And the Morton County Sheriff's number, 701-667-3330. I'm sure they would all love to hear from you. Be a bitch for the earth, okay? All right, let's jump to the Flint water crisis. It just keeps getting darker and darker. Now, the pharma company raised the price of lead poisoning drug 2,700%. Now, the saga of Flint, Michigan, where residents suddenly found themselves drinking lead-poisoned tap water, demonstrates how people becoming victims of corrupt government. If that weren't enough, those who suffer the worst from lead poisoning find themselves the victim of shameless corporate greed. As the Flint water crisis unfolded, we began finding out that lead-tainted water is a problem in cities across the country. One notorious pharmaceutical company saw a chance to cash in. Valiant Pharmaceuticals. You might want to write that name down. V-A-L-E-A-N-T. Valiant Pharmaceuticals. Call the White House. Complain, okay? Now, they raised the price of a drug used to treat lead poisoning by 2,700% after acquiring the drug in 2013. By 2015, as the issue of lead poisoning became prominent news, the price for a package of vials rose from $950 to $26,927. Let me tell you that again. From $950 to 26,927. This intravenous treatment called calcium EDTA has been available for decades at a stable price and is the most effective for severe and life-threatening cases of lead poisoning. The dramatic price increase has drawn the ire of poison control specialists, and hospitals since it began, but their concerns don't make the MSM News headlines. This is a drug that has long been a standard of care, and until recently it was widely accessible at an affordable price, said Dr. Michael Kosnet, an associate clinical professor in the Division of Clinical Pharmacology and Toxicology at the University of Colorado School of Medicine, and a consultant to the California Poison Control System, who has contacted Congress. There's no justification for the astronomical price increases by Valiant, which limit availability to the drug to children with life-threatening lead poisoning. The problem is the drug does not have a long shelf life and is not needed in large quantities, except in Flint, since severe lead poisoning is relatively uncommon, except in Flint. This is precisely the excuse Valiant gives for its egregious price hikes, with a company spokeswoman telling Stat, the list price increases over the past several years have enabled us to provide to the market consistent availability of a product with high carrying costs and very limited purchase volume of 200 to 300 units per year. The greed of Valiant Pharmaceuticals, which does little more than to buy up other pharma companies and raise drug prices, was celebrated by Wall Street for 2 years, until an accounting scandal and congressional hearings began tarnishing its image. Time for some more congressional hearings, don't you think? And, here's the switchboard number for the White House. If you want to call them, 202-456-1414, and it's Valiant, V-A-L-E-A-N-T, Pharmaceutical. In October 2015, we reported that Valiant raised prices on a number of critical brand name drugs by an average of 66%. 5 times as much as its closest industry peers. These including Cupramine, a decades-old drug that treats an inherited disorder called Wilson disease, and a diabetes drug called Clumetza. Valiant relies on insurance companies and government programs to shield most patients from the skyrocketing costs, but this leads to higher premiums and copayments, as well as an extra burden on who? Guess who? Us, the taxpayers. Doctors have complained to federal officials about the astronomical price hikes for the lead poisoning drugs and others acquired by Valiant. But the problem is they're complaining to the very state that enables such exploitation through patent monopolies and barring drug imports from other countries. Even if the patent monopoly has ended on a drug and the free market is allowed, it would take years for generics to be developed in response to sudden price hikes. As expected, nothing has come of doctors' efforts to get government to intervene in the big pharma fleecing of suffering medical patients. Meanwhile, hospitals struggles with the outlandish price hikes on life-saving drugs, and public health suffers as a consequence. Lead poisoning is often an inner-city problem, and many hospitals don't have a lot of resources in those areas. Dr. Nelson, who chairs the Department of Emergency Medicine at Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School, said, hospital pharmacy budgets are not unlimited, but this is a kind of drug nobody wants to keep around because there's not a lot of use. Because it's from people from the inner city who don't have, any kind of health care. So this can create a dilemma. Yeah, unless you're rich. So please call the White House and demand that there's another congressional hearing and that Valiant backs down their prices. So that number is 202-456-1111. Yes, I've given you a lot of numbers today, and I'm asking you to make some effort, okay? To make effort. Why? Because it's needed. If you can't be at a protest, you can pick up the phone and call. This is not a big deal. Most of you have unlimited phone coverage all over the United States. It can be done. Same thing for the Prime Minister of Canada. You can email the guy and tell him what you think. And you want this Native American Indian to go free. Make some effort. You never know. Your voice could be the tipping point. And in somebody's life, it can make a difference. In our presidential electoral system, it's not going to matter. It's already decided on. But you might be able to save a life. And the life, and the man's name is Adam Capay, C-A-P-A-Y. Sorry. Yeah, remember, again, October 31st, next week, that's on a Monday. Please focus on enlightenment for the earth and just chant, may divine enlightenment descend around on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. Focus on the light. Focus on being good. Do random acts of kindness. Call and protest. Now, if you don't think this is enough to get your blood boiling about participating into a quantum leap, think of what they're doing or they're not doing about all the nuclear reactors are leaking, but the one in Japan is just going crazy for 5 years and they're not doing anything about it. None of the governments, they're not even talking about it. Call Obama up and speak your voice. I mean, my God, what has the government done about Fukushima and the radiation in the air? Why, they raised the levels of radiation that they're saying is acceptable for us to breathe. What in the hell are they smoking? I'm sorry, it's got to be some pretty bad stuff. Just because they say we can breathe a higher level of radiation doesn't mean it is real. Because it's not. And truthfully, if you want to know what your radiation level is around anywhere in the world, it sucks, especially if you live in a major city. Normal radiation, anything over 20 RPMs, rad levels, is not good. A lot of the major cities, it's over 1,000. You got to do more to protect yourself and your family and talk about it. You have to do more cleansing. If you're outside, by golly, you better be doing more heart vitamins. Drink cherry juice, aloe vera juice to keep everything going. Radiation will affect your heart. And how many people are dying of heart attacks? How many young people are dying of heart attacks? How many animals, racehorses? So if you're outside a lot, more than normal, you've got to take precautions. And I do it all. Oh my God. I am such high maintenance now, it isn't funny. I do a cleansing bath. I take extra vitamins. I do the heart stuff because I am so worth it. And if you want really good natural antibiotics, then make yourself a tea out of turmeric, ginger, lemon, and a little bit of horseradish, which makes it a little bit spicy. That's a natural antibiotic, and that usually clears, at least it has for me, most infections out of my body. and it keeps me healthy. And how much do I drink? It depends how sick I am. You know, if it's just normal maintenance, I'll do maybe a quarter cup. But I do it every day because, golly jeepers, we need it. This is not normal times anymore. Now you take the radiation and then the chemtrails. Oh my gosh, and you add the frequencies and goes on and on. You know, we're all high maintenance. But the more you're aware of what's going on, the more you can protect you and your family. And it's really important. It's like knowing that black magic is real. You know, you can ignore it and you're going to get your ass kicked. Because that's what they want you to do. And the more attention, and the attention is recognizing it. And then dealing with it and doing the curse removal. And removing that energy and cutting those ties. And they're nothing then. This is a lifetime that's dark against light. It's the satanic magicians against the light magicians. Whoever can put out the most energy is the one that will win. And every breath that goes out of your body goes somewhere. Goes either to light or to darkness. So be careful of what your thoughts are, your words are, your intent. You know, if all of a sudden you're a normally happy person and you start getting depressed, probably picked up somebody else's energy. Shift it. Say a prayer. Chant to the violet flame. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires. Burn off that energy. Shift it back to light. It makes a difference. And we need that light energy on the planet. We need your focus, your intention, and your effort. Take a look at your kid. Take a look at your animal. You're doing it for them, by God. Take a look at you. You're doing it for you. Enlightenment. Put some effort into it. It's our right. We got 25,000 years. It's prophecy of the golden age. And darkness wants to take that away from us by creating Armageddon. Don't choose Armageddon for God's sake. Choose light. And all those groups that are meditation, give it energy. Yeah, it's spiritual overtime, but it makes a damn difference. Join in. And you don't even have to wait till next Monday to chant. May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. You can chant it now. You can chant it tomorrow. You can chant it while you're doing dishes, while you're driving. And you know, while you're doing that, you're calling it down around you too. You know, you're doing service work and you're getting the benefits. How cool is that? Your family is getting the benefits. And you can be specific. Oh my God. May divine enlightenment descend down on Obama now. May divine enlightenment awaken within Obama now. Oh, whoa. What a concept, you know? You can direct it so many different ways. Use it. May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken with everyone now. And with that, I bid you have a great day, a great evening, a great week. Aloha. Come to Hawaii, visit my store, Cathy's Angel Light Crystals, Miracles and Joy, or catch my website at angellightome.com. Aloha.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
is Barbara DeLong, host of Nightlight Radio, inviting you to join me on a cosmic journey, exploring a metaphysical montage of spiritual material, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between, including spiritual readings for those who seek enlightenment. Let Nightlight provide you with equal measure of light, love and laughter, insight, wisdom, and inspiration. Monday nights, 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern, right here on Studio B, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Who are we? Where do we come from? Are you curious about the origins of the human race? Join me, Gavin McCall, and a variety of guests on Ancient Humans, where we decipher world events, explore scientific theories, personal stories, myths, mysteries, and lore about the history of the human race.
Listen in on Mondays, 8 Eastern Time on Revolution Radio for Journeys with JP. With a variety of guests, each giving their perspective on their journey into the now. Join me and my guests Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio Studio B.
Every Tuesday.